All right. Thank you. So I'm not really used to being up on a stage without being able to hide behind an instrument. So here's to that. Imagine if this talk was able to be broadcast to millions and millions and millions of people, but you had no guarantee that they were listening. And everything that you said would be owned by somebody else forever. So that's kind of what I went through. I'm going to tell you about my band, Bears of Manitou. And that's kind of where the problem starts, is I just refer to it as my band. And whenever you have a band or a business or a relationship, it's made up of more than just you. And so you kind of have to consider every single working part of the relationship, the band, the business. And I didn't do that. So we've been a band since 2010. We've played many shows, many really great shows. Our first show was with one of my favorite performers. We play kind of like an indie rock. You could say, to give you an example, we played with Rocky Votolato. He's an indie folk artist from the Northwest. Close to maybe a Mumford & Sons sound is the closest thing I can give you guys. And we've had some really, really great success, and we've always played bigger shows and better shows and had more social interaction and just had a better experience with the band, to the point where we started getting really crazy, awesome opportunities. And we were contacted by a pretty large music organization. You guys, it's a subsidiary of MTV. And they have an incredible reach, not only in the United States, but they have a reach overseas. And they came to us wanting to basically purchase 3 of our songs. And we were stoked. They were stoked. I was apprehensive. This is a machine. This is MTV. They're a corporation. They're huge. Are they looking out for my best interest? I don't know. But there's this amazing exposure. I don't know. They've got billions of viewers worldwide. But I don't know for sure if those people are going to listen. They have, in the contract that they presented us with, they didn't say anything about you're guaranteed that we're going to put your music on our TV shows. They didn't say you're guaranteed success. They didn't say you're guaranteed anything. They said, we will pay you a lump sum of $1,000 and you'll give us 3 songs. And, it can sound really good, and it sounded really good to Maria and Brian and Matthew, and it sounded good to me too, but there was like a feeling in the pit of my stomach. So what did we do? We had discussions. When you're in a relationship or a business, you have discussions about these things, and you try and figure out what's the best next step. We're presented with an amazing opportunity. What do we do now? How do we protect ourselves? We get a lawyer. So we check with our lawyer, and our lawyer goes over the contract and basically doesn't give us advice, but says, this is what this means. This is all legal terms that we didn't understand. These are these archaic terms presented so you can understand it. And he said, this isn't necessarily a good deal. This isn't necessarily a bad deal. I'm not really your lawyer, so I can't give you advice. Awesome. So I didn't feel any better about anything. But what we did was we took that information and we made edits to the contract, and we said, we don't want you to own these songs forever. We want to own these for like a couple years. And, we're going to have the option to do this at any time. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're like big ideas. This is what we want. And we sent it off to MTV, and they sent it back and said, we can't make any changes to this contract. It is set in stone. Take it or leave it. So we had a discussion. And we sat down in my house, in our studio, and we talked about it. We weighed the pros and the cons, and we sat there in silence for probably 5-10 minutes, just looking at the floor, because I couldn't say yes to it. In a democracy, they would have won. We would have signed that contract. But for some reason, I said no. And I don't know if that was the right decision or the wrong decision, but I know that the way it happened was the wrong decision, because I damaged a relationship and I damaged our band. We still play to this day, but we probably went like a month or two not playing shows, being really awkward around each other. Like, we would send messages back and forth, and you can just kind of tell the tension, you know, when people are like, they answer okay or K, you know, the K. Yeah, you know. So it was really awkward, and it was we literally almost stopped playing music together. Not just that one event, but it was a culmination of not listening to each other. It was a culmination of me letting my ego get in the way of the decisions that should be equal parts. We were an equal part band. We all had ownerships in the songs. Without the bass player, we couldn't perform the same way that we could perform with the bass player. Without the drummer, we wouldn't have the same songs. So I guess what I'm saying is, in that moment, I didn't realize it, but in retrospect, you know, we've rekindled the relationship with MTV, but we're not going to sign the contract. We've gone back and decided, you know, we're going to take a different route. But we set rules, and we set expectations, and we talk about things, and we make decisions together, and we talk about every single thing, every single opportunity that happens. There's never going to be a yes unless everyone says yes. And I guess that's my lesson. That's what I learned, is that, you know, you can't let your ego, if you start a company, if you start a band, if you're in a relationship, you can't let your ego drive the decisions of that band, relationship, or company, because it will fail if you don't have a strong enough bond. We were lucky that we were friends for 10 plus years before we entered a relationship in a band. And without that foundation, we would have been screwed. And there would be no more band, and I wouldn't be up here telling this story. Bears of Manitou plays next at a wonderful fundraiser at Tempe Marketplace on the 27th. And it'll be awesome. It's called Eternal Charity. So you guys should check it out. It's going to be awesome.